everybody. Welcome. Hey, it's been quite some time. Welcome in, everybody. How's everybody been doing? If you guys haven't seen me before, don't fret. It's been a while. It's been a good long while, but I'm back. I am Mr. Merca, the Bearded Truth, Jason Lyon. Thank you so much for coming in. If I haven't seen you in forever, welcome back. If this is the first time seeing you, hey, welcome to the show. I'm your neighborhood-friendly libertarian talking about politics and social issues around this great country and around this great world. Specifically tonight, I do have something that is a little bit closer to home for me, as I am home here in Greenville County, South Carolina, where we have a big race tomorrow. And that race happens to be the can't get this shared to my own website. That's garbage. Oh, there we go. We do have a sheriff's race tomorrow here in Greenville County. So I just left the debate, which is why we're running this show so much later than normal. So I apologize for the lateness on that. But it is there's a lot within that I really feel as if you are an undecided voter here in Greenville County, that we should be aware of. And we're going to go through this. I'm not going to spend too much time. I don't want to spend the whole hour-long show on this, but I promise you, I will get over into Iran, and that is certainly going to be taking up quite a bit of our time. And that's where everything is going to be great. So that's where the greatness is going to go. So let me just get this Greenville County stuff, which is very important, very vital for the future of Greenville County, as we have a special election because our last sheriff was found guilty of fraudulently using taxpayer money in order to aid and abet his extramarital affairs with his subordinate. So we have a special election. We have 5 Republicans running, and we have 1 Democrat running. Paul Guy running for the Democratic Party. I'm pretty sure he gets the head nod in, so we'll see him in March. But tomorrow, January 7th, there are 5 that we can vote for. There is Darius Hall, Hobart Lewis. There is Robert Watley. There is Sean Zurkowski, and then A.T. Tommy Smith. Now, those 5 individuals have been on the debate stage for a little while. We've known about this since late October, and so we have finally come to a head with this. And I am so incredibly excited to say that this is coming to an end. And if anything is indicative of tonight's debate and everything going on, then I really do believe that potentially 2 of my favorite candidates will be winning in the elections tomorrow and going off into the runoff. And I don't think that necessarily either candidate will be terrible or bad for the county. I want to talk about some of the things that were discussed tonight. The accusations coming against a lot of these candidates. They came out, they owned up to it, and they handled them. It may be my bias, maybe because I support some of these candidates, that I believe that they handled these with grace. They handled it with integrity. We had Hobart Lewis being accused of having an extramarital affair. Much like what previous Sheriff Lewis was doing. He came out and he said, look, this is a baseless claim. They didn't even name the woman in this. And, maybe that one's not one where you can come out and own it, but you can really definitely poke the holes in the logic that was there. You had Darius Hall being accused of being reprimanded. And he comes out and he explains, hey, look, I took a little bit of extra time in order to make sure that I got my I's dotted and T's crossed. And if you want to hold that against me, then whatever. I think that one right there really does show the kind of character that Darius Hall has about him, that he's going to make sure that everything gets the due diligence that it's required. We've seen Darius Hall in the past come out and help break up riots, help diffuse situations from the public. He has defended officers when they were right. He has also been advocates against the officers when they've been wrong in the past. And so I think that shows a little bit of the character that even me as a libertarian that I find valuable, right? To be objective, to say, oh, the police was right in this one, or the police was wrong in this one, and hold them accountable as such. I think that that's a very valuable thing. Darius Hall coming out and sharing that message when he was asked by A.T. Smith. Robert Wally got asked about the DUI thing. There was an accusation he was working with his daughter at Chick-fil-A, serving the Lord's good chicken. Can we get an amen for the Lord's chicken over there at Chick-fil-A? Serving the chicken over there, and so his daughter leaves, gets into a car accident. He comes in uniform, picks her up, and people were concerned that he is aiding and abetting his daughter from a DUI. And he comes out and says, "Look, I was working with her, she was over there working with the Lord's chicken, and as drunk and as intoxicating as that chicken is, there is no alcohol content within it. So he definitely got in front of that one. The accusations against Sean Zurkowski, as a libertarian, they had asked everyone, all 5 candidates, who voted for president, or did you vote for President Trump in the 2016 election? And Sean Zurkowski was the only one to say no. And I'm honestly more ashamed by his vote than it was by the other 4 candidates. Sean Zurkowski did not vote for Donald Trump. He did not vote for Hillary Clinton. He had voted for Bill Weld. He voted for Bill Weld. Bill Weld of people. Bill Weld, the big giant neocon who loves every war that's happening over in the Middle East, but he tried to undermine the Libertarian Party because maybe one time he was like in favor of like a little bit of liberty or a little bit of freedom. He was maybe in favor of a smaller government in some aspects, but dropping bombs on brown kids, he's cool with that. So Bill Weld, that was Sean Zurkowski's getting out in front of it. I mean, big props to Sean for coming out and in front of the entire GOP. In a very large audience and saying, look, I voted for Bill Weld. Props to you, my man. You should have just said, I did not vote for Hillary and I did not vote for Trump. And people would have been like, all right, there's an opportunity there for you to vote somebody decent. Bill Weld, yeah. No, I was the one libertarian in the crowd. I was like, no, that's even worse. That's even worse. Like, get out of here. John Zurkowski comes out in favor of red flag laws. He spoke a little bit disingenuously. Maybe it's just because he was law enforcement, maybe because he was a Marine, but he didn't understand the whole process of due process. He doesn't understand that whole entire breakdown. Due process is not just you go before a judge and you say this person did something bad, and then therefore the judge authorizes you to go take their guns or confiscate their guns, much like what Lindsey Graham has been advocating for, and he even called Lindsey Graham out in support of these red flag laws. Absolutely, Lindsey Graham can claim that this has due process within it, but it's just not accurate. It's just not real. It's just not there. Huge issues there. But so Sean Zurkowski, the tyrant running under the GOP, I will not mince words on that. If you are a red flag supporter, advocate, you are running for office, you are running to become a tyrant. You're running to take the ability for people to have their lives, to be able to protect themselves, to protect their families. And you're going to say, well, maybe I could throw this over to their neighbors and determine if their neighbors think that they should be able to have a firearm. Well, my rights end where yours begin, and certainly vice versa. You don't own my right to self-defense, and red flag laws are certainly a violation of that. So Sean Zurkowski, I'm sorry, either you are ignorant on this and misguided, or you understand it and you're willing to mislead people. In either case, you're either a tyrant intentionally or accidentally, and nonetheless, I cannot support a tyrant. Moving on, A.T. Smith got accused of having Bill Clinton at his wedding, inside of his wedding, and reading during his wedding, and he supported that and said, yeah, he was there. His wife is third cousins to the former president, but A.T. Smith did not go unscathed throughout the night. By judging by the crowd's responses, I believe A.T. Smith and Sean Zurkowski other than a very small group of people which were wearing their stickers respectively, they were not getting applause on a couple of their answers. Red flag laws happened to be one of those for Sean Zurkowski. And I think that was very indicative of the kind of temperament or the kind of rhetoric that we would not like to see in our future sheriffs. When we look at Tommy Smith and the way that he has, maybe not Tommy Smith himself, but the people that have surrounded themselves around Tommy Smith, whether it's on the local Facebook pages, the Facebook groups, whether it's on going through the media, whether it's people taking similar names as some of the competitors in this race and redirecting, well, first purchasing those domains online, such as we have Watley for Sheriff is the correct website, but if you type in Robert Watley for Sheriff for a short amount of time, that was sending you to A.T. Smith's website. So things like that, whether it was a part of the A.T. Smith's campaign or whether it was not just an advocate or a fan of, when you have people around you like that and you're not coming out and strongly condemning them, it really does look bad on the campaign. Maybe it wasn't A.T. Smith. Maybe he wasn't involved with that. But there seemed to be a lot of things that were going against A.T. Smith, and those concerns were never, I would say, never properly addressed. They were just flat out just saying, no, didn't happen. Right? There was no condemning that action. There was no standing up and saying this is completely unacceptable. And because of that, it's a little bit difficult for us to believe that, to trust in that. And so I think that for a lot of people, A.T. Smith tonight lost a lot of support that he had. He was definitely an early front runner, and I don't know what is exactly happening within his campaign, but it looks like he's falling off. Hobart Lewis came out and he was doing, I would say he was doing fairly well. Hobart Lewis came out and he answered all the questions. He wasn't really diverting around. He wasn't deflecting. He was kind of taking questions head on. He was fairly, in my opinion, I'm torn between personally voting for Darius Hall and Hobart Lewis. They're both fantastic. I think that if we were get to those two in a runoff, Greenville doesn't lose. There's no way that Greenville loses between the two of them. And I think that would be the best way to go forward. So for my Greenville audience, if you are looking, please let me know if you agree with this, if you disagree with this, where you disagree, why you disagree. Please feel free to jump into the comment section. Let me know. Because I think this is an important topic. This is a very important topic. Understanding where we're going to go for the future. Now, I want to get into the wonderful world of Iran. Now, if you guys have somehow been living under a rock, and I don't blame you. It would be nice and cozy under there. If you've been living under a rock, and you've been missing what's going on over in Iraq, over in Iran, or with Iran. Recently, we have a lot more topics I still want to get into because I've been gone for so long. Recently, what we had was Qasem Soleimani. Qasem? Is it Qasem? Yeah, Qasem Soleimani. Qasem Soleimani, he has been a force to be reckoned with when it comes to a lot of different areas around in the Middle East. He has been he's been on a very long leash of control of the Iranian army, and he's been able to really be the big chess player over there. And so Qasem, throughout the history, he's been somebody who's been a part of a lot of repugnant attacks. He was believed to have been a part of the embassy attack there in Baghdad last week. And so the involvement there was certainly one that has been piquing the interest of America. We've been following him for a long time. We've known about his actions, his movements, and where he's been going and everything else. And so finally, it looked as if after the embassy attack, a couple days later, after we had already postured, after we had already taken action against this embassy attack, after we'd done a lot of things and things were settling down, Qasem Soleimani was traveling near a private airport, public airport over there near Baghdad, and so magically a drone strike comes out of nowhere and blows him up and kills him. So this, of course, has people on edge. What is going to be the response there? So it's it's been interesting to see how everyone has been responding. I think that a lot of people get stuck in this binary position where either you support this, and because you support this, you are supporting World War III, or if you don't support this, it's because you support terrorism. It is truly the worst kind of a binary decision that you can ever provide people, and it's so incredibly disingenuous to believe that that's the only way that you can look at this. If we look at the situation honestly, there are many different ways that we can honestly and accurately, I'm just going to take that out. There's no point in having that. There's many ways that we can look at this entire situation and we can go, well, President Trump was not justified in the way that he did it. And I do not care that Soleimani himself is dead. I can cherish the idea that somebody who's terrible, that has done a lot of egregious things, is dead. I can cherish that. I'm fully on supportive of that. But at the end of the day, President Trump still was clearly having some issues when it comes to the actual authorities of what he's allowed to do and what he's capable of doing and everything else. I'm sorry, I've got to make some adjustments so I can see the chat on Periscope as well. So if you guys have been commenting, I am so apologetic for missing your comments. Yeah, Spike. Mr. Vice President. This is the first time I get to say this on air, live on the air. We have the vice presidential hopeful, and truly should be your next vice president, Mr. Spike Cohen himself. Welcome in, good sir. I appreciate you for gracing us with your presence. But nonetheless, so when it comes to Trump, the 2001-2002 AUMF, the authorization use of military force. This was what came and was enacted after 9/11, right? This was the emotional response to say Congress gives full-on authority, gives the full-on capability of the president to go and commit these attacks in Iraq against specific groups, against specific terror groups. The one group that was not listed on there is Iran, and certainly not an equivalent of a 4-star general or even questionably a 5-star general, which was Soleimani. So we killed a foreign national military officer in somebody else's sovereign land, right? In Iraq's land. Huge issue there, of course, because if it is a military officer, then what should be required is to actually provide with a trial. Now, if they were an independent person, if there was somebody, somebody acting on their own volition, then what would come of that is you nuke them, right? You nuke the crap out of them, you blow up the entire country around them, and everyone's happy. No, of course not, right? There's different ways of treating it, whether it's a foreign official or if it's an individual, and certainly when it comes to a foreign military leader, you don't just get a nuke or bomb somebody else's country just in order to get them. So there's a lot of a struggle there, and rightfully so. So President Trump, maybe the way that he did that was not entirely beneficial. Maybe he should have addressed Congress and been like, hey, look, we're going to do this real quick. We need your approval. We need to at least declare it to you guys that we're going to be doing this. But instead, he kind of took it on his own and took this action. As a result of this, the struggle that you can have here, the problem that you can have here is when you empower a singular individual in one singular office to be able to take this action unilaterally without the support of anyone else. What you're doing is you're saying all 330 million people of America have to listen and have to follow with what this one individual says. This does not sound like a constitutional republic to me. And it sounds like a lot of MAGA, it sounds like a lot of conservatives, it sounds like a lot of Republicans would be in favor of saying that, right? That we are a constitutional republic, that we need to restore the Constitution, we need to follow it, we need to restore its honest and truthful value. I agree with you. So then why do you support President Trump when he takes an action by himself? Huh? I'm not saying you'll never see me shed a tear for Soleimani being killed. Never, 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 never. Not an issue with that. But I have an issue when we don't hold our own officials accountable. That should be a basic premise for us, right? You have a strict set of rules. This is called the Constitution. And until the Constitution is taken away, then these officials should be upholding it. Our feelings on a matter don't matter. They don't matter at all. Uphold the rules, uphold the laws. Otherwise, you're just as bad as any other entity out there that says, the Second Amendment says shall not be infringed, but I can go ahead and infringe upon it. I can go ahead and pass red flag laws. I can go ahead and violate your right to privacy. I can go ahead and violate your freedom of speech. I can go ahead and violate all these things. No, but the Constitution says. All right, so then please apply that same way when it comes to declaration of war. Please apply that same thing to when the President of the United States decides that he's going to get involved with these conflicts by himself. I'm not saying Iran is good. I'm not saying Soleimani is good. I feel like I need to repeat that many, 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 many times. Let's just hold a standard. If you're going to talk about the Constitution, let's actually uphold it. As a result of this, what we have seen is Iraq unanimously. Maybe some of them didn't vote, but there were no votes against. It was entirely unanimous in favor of the troops leaving, the American troops leaving. Do you think that this was something accepted? Of course not. Trump says, "Hey, we built some infrastructure here. We built some roads. And we may have taxed the taxpayers on this, but you're going to pay us back. All right? We're going to build the roads, and Iraq is going to pay for them. All right? So we're not leaving until Iraq pays for these roads, is the claim. We will see. We will see how long it takes for Iraq to pay for these roads. I have very little doubt that they're going to pay for this. I believe that we should be pulling out. I've been an advocate of pulling out because if there is never a good time, there's never a good time to pull out. If there's never a good time to pull out, you might as well just say, hey, I actually care about our troops. I actually care about our troops. Let's pull out. If there will never be a good time to pull out, there was never a good time to put in. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? All these single guys, you guys know what I'm talking about. You guys know what I'm talking about. So, yes. If you know you're not going to be able to pull out, don't stick it in there, all right? Get some protection first, get an exit plan, then you can go in. We've lost that mentality that was so prevalent back in the 1800s of the idea that when we get into these conflicts, when we get into these wars, when we get into these situations, that what we do is we have an objective. We have a clear objective. We go in, we handle business, and we get out. Whether we agree with the way, with the structuring, whether we agree with the process, whether we, whatever happened there that justified us to go in, it was clear. We were clear on what we were doing, when we were doing it, why we were doing it, and we would handle it, and then we would leave. That is the proper way of handling any of these conflicts, right? Whether we agree with them or not. You know what doesn't work? Sitting in Afghanistan for what, 17 years now? 18 years. You know what doesn't work? Sitting in Iraq for 17 years. You know what doesn't work? Not having an actual plan. Saying, oh, we're just going to nation build until all the bad people go away. Oh, we're just going to keep on just trying to do the same thing over and over again. And eventually, maybe one point in time, these people are just going to accept what we believe. They're going to accept our meddling in foreign elections. They're going to accept that we, the people of America, have a better way of life. They're going to accept that we have better intentions for them than what they have for themselves. We have nothing to provide these people. We can provide protections for one group at the disservice of another group. We can pick the winners and losers. We can say, you know, Obama was bombing the wrong one, so Trump is bombing the right ones, or vice versa. But the point is that we just keep getting involved, and we have no plan. So I don't think that there was necessarily a winner in any of these situations when it comes to Iran. No winner. Trump put himself in a little bit of water with people who care about the Constitution. The Democrats finally came back to being anti-war. I mean, a round of applause for them for a quick moment. Trump did something, so the left becomes anti-war again. Thank you. Thank you for coming back. You've been missed. The right, of course, shows their absolute love and adornment of war. Some of them, not all of them, some of them. Let me be clear. John Bolton won a ticket to the ER for having an erection for lasting longer than 4 hours. That was very tragic. But yeah, he went straight to the ER with that one. Pompeo comes out and he's all jittery and excited. He's like, oh, Iraq wants us out? No, we're gonna stay. It's cool. No worries. They don't have sovereignty. We have sovereignty. They don't have sovereignty. Who needs sovereignty? Only America. That's it. So the neocons won, I guess. That would be it. The people? No. People didn't win. I don't think the American people won at all. I would struggle to find a way that we won. Maybe if you want to say whoever replaces Soleimani might not be as good. Maybe that's a slight win. But we're still sitting over there going, meh, I don't like this guy. Take him out. We pick the winners and losers here. We're America. Might makes right? Just because you can force somebody to do something doesn't mean you're right. It's disgusting. I'm not saying that Iran is good. I'm not saying that terrorism is good. I'm not saying Soleimani was good. I'm saying that both parties can be bad, and certainly that was the case. Do you think it was right what he did? What he did. Who is he that you were referring to? But as a result of all of this, I think that the situation is becoming clear. What we saw in November was that there was about 52 billion barrels of oil that were found. 52 billion barrels. So there's ample amount of barrels of oil there in November, and then in January we get involved. That's kind of an interesting timeline. I'm not going to say that there's absolutely a correlation there. Or not a correlation, a causation there, but there's certainly a correlation. We're in an election year. President Trump got a pseudo impeachment? Question mark? Not really, not yet. It hasn't been passed on. But so now we're in the election year after that, and so that there's the George Bush still won after 9/11. So, there's an opportunity there if you get into a big conflict and you rile up the patriotism. Look at this guy who killed hundreds of American people. We killed a bunch of innocent people. We killed them. Yeah. FBI, America. Right? Potential that could help out. Happy New Year to you as well. The opportunity there for some real patriotism on an election year. There's I'm saying that there's a correlation that doesn't mean causation. Spike Cohen says the foundation of American politics. The U.S. military can go wherever it wants and kill anyone they want, even women and children. And anyone tries to fight back to keep from being murdered is labeled a terrorist. Oh, strong words. Maybe some truth to it. Yeah. No, Spike the future vice president of the United States, is absolutely correct. I am not. Just in case you guys think I'm kidding or I'm being sarcastic, Spike Cohen is running as vice president of the United States. I don't know if you guys are witnessing this, but you have a vice presidential candidate sitting in this stream right now. Yeah, it was definitely a pseudo impeachment. Not real until it actually goes to the Senate. So it's like right in the limbo land, if you will. But we have a vice presidential candidate sitting in this feed right now, and so just take a moment and enjoy that for a second. Just thank you, Spike. But so I think as a result of all of this, we have a lot of concerns. And I think that if your initial gut reaction was good, I'm glad that Trump did this, that's fine. That's completely acceptable. When I first heard it, I'm not gonna lie, my heart may have pitter-pattered a little bit harder, and I was like, yeah, took out a guy, yeah. And I was like, all right, let's dissect it, let's think about it, let's actually let's figure this out. Pelosi knows when to pull out immediately. Man. So I sat down and I started dissecting this. Started figuring out what was the justifications, what was the reasoning, why was all this happening, and certainly there's the excuse or the reasoning that Soleimani had killed hundreds of Americans before, and so we're just justified to take him out whenever we can. I don't agree with that. He's a military member of a foreign country that we have not declared a war against. We can call him an enemy if we'd like to, but we have not declared war against Iran. Should we? Potentially, but we haven't. And so until that point, we don't get to just willy-nilly kill somebody, right? It is an assassination, right? And many people have the point of contention on, was it assassination or was it not? I look at it as an assassination. The unlawful killing of somebody who is quote-unquote important, historical, etc. Yeah, I would call that. It doesn't bring honor to him to be called to say he was assassinated. It just means that we would remember him. And certainly I think that this potentially could be it. Comment is that he is a terrorist and is planning to kill people. So this is the interesting thing, right? Pompeo came out on CNN, was talking about the idea that, yes, Soleimani was coming out to kill a bunch of American people. The plan was imminent. The plan was there. Where were these killings going to happen? And as far as Pompeo was willing to justify, as far as he was willing to provide details on, he said, in the region. In which region? Middle East? Oh. So you're telling me that the people that came and invaded the foreign lands and went all the way around the world to come into these lands that are not even, that weren't invited into most of these countries, that aren't liked in most of these countries, that aren't able to walk around freely in these countries, that if they were to walk around freely by themselves throughout any of these towns would be more than likely taken in, raped, and murdered gruesomely, that these people would be potentially killed? Color me shocked. It's almost as if they're not welcome there. And certainly, right? And certainly we have the issue of us being there. Why are we there? Well, we made some agreements before. We forced some agreements. We forced some decisions, and that's the way the cookie crumbled. So we're there. So now that we're there, we're justified to be there. We're promised to be there. Don't poke us. Don't prod us. Don't shoot us. Don't hurt us. But if you look bad enough, we might do it to you. That's okay. Right? I'm not trying to speak ill of our military. I'm not trying to speak ill of the mission that they're on. I'm the politicians putting this plan in. The politicians who put our good men and women over into these areas without a plan have basically told us that our young men and women are just pawns on the chessboard. If they die, look, we're justified in killing more people. We're justified in radicalizing more people. I can't in good conscience say, you know, I'm not going to be going over there, but I'm willing to send over your sons, your daughters, to go and fight for these things. Oh, when are they going to come home? I'm not sure. Whenever we feel like it, whenever it's a good time for them to come home. No. There's never, as I said, there's never a good time for us to pull out, which means that at any time, it's the best time to pull out. We should be pushing pretty heavily to get our men and women home, right? And what's interesting, right, is if we look at George Bush, at not a lot of his rhetoric, but some of his rhetoric was, hey, look, you know, some of this stuff is bad. He had a very slight anti-war rhetoric. You had Obama, who campaigned on anti-war rhetoric. You had him; he was constantly bragging. He was constantly saying how he's going to pull us out of Iraq and Afghanistan. He's going to get us out of these conflicts in the Middle East. He's going to do this. He's going to get us out. He's going to get us out. He's going to get us out. He comes in and he's the bomber in chief, dropping bombs every day, dropping so many bombs everywhere, getting us in more conflicts, getting us in more issues. And so that wasn't in his interest. But he had the anti-war rhetoric on the campaign trail, both times, right? 2008 and 2012. And then you have President Trump, who had that same rhetoric. I'm going to pull us out. I'm going to pull us out. We have tweets of him saying, "We're good. You know, don't start a war with Iran because that just means you can't negotiate. You're just trying to get reelected. You know, yada 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 yada." Right? President Trump objectively has been anti-war. But he does these attacks. He does these movements where afterwards some of the intelligence doesn't agree with it, such as in Syria, where, you know, dropping 59 Tomahawks into Syria after a alleged chemical attack from Assad to his own people without really a justification or a good reason. You know, you had General Mattis come out pretty much immediately after and say, look, the intelligence didn't really line up with that. You had different agencies around the world say, look, the chemicals that were reported, that's not really what caused it. This really didn't come from that, et cetera, et cetera. So that one wasn't justified. So we get into that. That was a bad one on Trump. So then we continue on and we get into these more scuffles, if you will. We drop a bomb on Soleimani. Nobody bats an eye, right? A lot of people don't bat an eye. You had cheering from individuals like Senator Ben Sasse. You had a lot of cheering and goading on of this was a good thing. This was a great thing. There's never a pause. There's never are we doing the right thing by doing this action and the way that we're doing this? Whether you think the end goal is right, the means are what we need to be focusing on. I'm not saying Soleimani shouldn't be dead. I'm not saying that at all. But there's a process. Whether you believe in the Constitution or not, there's a process. It should have been adhered to. There's better ways of doing all of this that doesn't put everybody at risk in the Middle East. And by everybody, I mean the American troops, the people that I support, the people that I care about. Right? I still have friends that are over in the Middle East. I care about them. I want them to come home safely. And the only way to do that is by good and honest diplomacy and understanding the situations and not making rash decisions and working with more than just yourself, President Trump. I want you to be successful, President Trump. People accuse me of being anti-Trump all the time. I want President Trump to be successful. I want him to make great decisions. I applaud him when he makes good decisions. The Tax Cuts and Job Act was a fantastic start to regulation cuts. It was a fantastic start to cutting taxes, right? I would love to see that expanded upon. I would love to make it a permanent thing rather than seeing the taxes come up over time. I would love to see that really become a solid piece of what President Trump stands for. I would love for him to be the quote-unquote most libertarian president ever. But that means he has to stop doing bad actions. That means that he has to stop taking it upon himself just to do as he sees fit. That means that he doesn't need to go and veto legislation pointed at pulling our support from the Saudi Arabian attempted genocide in Yemen. Those are just some of the smaller things that he could be doing, and he'd be gaining so much of my support. And thank you, Miss Katrina. That's what I want to actually take this to. So not only are we getting involved and we're rocking the boat a little bit with Iran, there's beyond just the oil fields that have been found, with the 52 billion barrels of oil found in November in Iran. There's also been some working together when it comes with Russia and China working with Iran in the little waters with their little tiny navy. So their weak little navy is trying to come together and work and play war games with one another, and that's their prerogative, of course, but you got to at least acknowledge that it's happening. And so, Democrats who, they feared Russia, that's good, right? The conservatives who fear China, right? That's good, right? Look at those. Both of those enemies, both public enemies of the Democrats and the Republicans, are working together with Iran, and yet some people are still goading this on, egging this on. If we push too hard, if we push too forcefully, if we hit too many targets in these areas, as a result, I have no doubt that World War III will start. And I made a satire post earlier that I did rather enjoy. My thought process on this was, we have Xi Jinping, we have Putin that are backing Iran, we have Macron from France, and we have Merkel from Germany supporting the U.S. If we were to go into World War III from this situation with those four extra players siding on each one, there is something that we have to grapple with, and I'm not sure that we as Americans are ready to really handle this situation. If Germany backs America and we go into a world war, the result of this is that either A, America, who is World War or back-to-back world champions, loses, or B, Germany, who has lost both world wars, now gets a W. I'm not ready to give Germany a W, and I tend to care about America a little bit more. Let's not lose. So maybe the best thing that we should be doing is finding another way around. I think that's where we should be moving, right? We should be getting out of trying to enable Germany to be getting a World War champion belt. They have a dark enough and they have a dark enough history. They have a bad enough trend that let's not make them any better. Let's just leave them in the background. Let's just push them out there and let them be. That's how we keep history the way it's supposed to be. We shouldn't risk the W for them, and we certainly shouldn't be risking an L for ourselves. But the point being is that let's not get into a world war. That's really the basis behind this. Let's find a way of getting out of it. Let's not push ourselves and force ourselves into something like this. Bring in Switzerland so they can finally have something on the scoreboard one way or the other. Oh man, if we could bring Switzerland in on this, that would be interesting to see what it would take to get Switzerland involved. That would be genuinely what would be interested. And if Switzerland would get involved, it would be little pop shot guys, right? It would be the equivalent of the little AK-47s in the Middle East. It would be welcome to the rice fields. It would, yeah. I'd bet money on Switzerland. I would do it. I definitely would. Europe will not support America. We are the fascists. I mean, they came out and they supported them. So France and Germany did support. So I don't know. But no, it definitely raises a concern. I don't know what the future holds. I don't know what President Trump's plan is next. He did tweet out and he basically said, look, if Iran does anything at all, I'm going to blow them up. I'm going to blow them up. Right? He had a three tweet series. And that's, I don't consider that an actual declaring to Congress. Some people may believe that because it's his official platform for reaching the public, but that's not Congress, right? That's not, we should not be running the presidency from your Twitter fingers. I can't believe I'm having to say this with like any sincerity. We should not be running the presidency from your Twitter fingers. If you want to actually like give them a call on their cell phone, right? Just do a mass call and just have everyone pick up. And if some people don't pick up, they don't pick up. But you can like make that call real quick and be like, yep, dropping the bomb. Whoop, whoop. That would be better than just dropping the tweet, right? That would be better than just dropping this tweet. I dropped this tweet once, said I was going to bomb Iran. Question is, Al-Shabaab just recently went and dropped some missiles, went and dropped some bombs, killed a couple Americans. Obviously not Iran. It would be foolish to believe that these were two not connected in some way. That the opportunity arose in which a terrorist organization such as Al-Shabaab was able... Welcome to the cheese wheel. The Al-Shabaab was not looking at the situation with Iran and going, meh, we can go ahead and kill some Americans. Right now is a perfect window of opportunity for us to do this. Potentially... If the intel doesn't come out quick enough, then Iran takes the blame for it. Iran gets blown up. Now we all get to go in and help work against a common enemy, or even if they get the credit, there's different ways of looking at that. But as a result of that, as a result of all of this, what we saw is that he didn't have like a big push against it, but the potential. The potential for President Trump to really take some serious action over there in the Middle East, really put people on the edge of their seat. How else will you all about Smockin? Talk about Smockin. See, it's funny. She was making fun of President Trump's typo, and she typoed herself. Please, everybody, love my wife and laugh at her at the same time. Ooh, Heisenberg makes a good point. What if somebody hacks his Twitter and tweets the start of World War III? What did we have to lose? That is an excellent question. If his Twitter is able to possess the powers of declaring war or declaring actions, I mean, wasn't the accusation was that his account came down for a couple moments at one point? And that during that time, potentially a higher end employee actually had access to his Twitter account. So you literally have national security in the hands of a corporation. Now, maybe you're the kind of conservative, the kind of liberal, the kind of progressive, the kind of communist, the kind of socialist, or even the kind of libertarian that you believe that the federal government should be ran by corporations. I'm not that person. Maybe this might be the indication that you got to rethink that a little bit. We'll see. But I don't find that in any way favorable. In Europe, we know Trump tweet without reflection. Arabs country too. We apologize. But that whole situation, this whole entire Soleimani situation, as a result, this was one guy, and as a result of this, right? If you follow just the American media, they were commonly saying, like, in Iraq and Iran, they were cheering. And then quickly they realized that people were able to fact check them and realized that those cheers weren't very prevalent and they weren't very common. And so we killed one guy that was terrible, right? Just absolutely terrible. How many people do we just radicalize from that? How many more masterminds do we just enable to want to fulfill their desire to kill other people of other nations, and specifically America? These are the questions and concerns that we should be really addressing, and I don't think that necessarily we care enough. I am so sorry. I forgot all about the YouTube land. I have not been following any of those comments. I gotta go check those out. But we haven't had any real pause to all of this. We haven't been. I'm concerned about the long game here, and certainly, right, here's another argument that I've seen from a lot of conservatives from MAGA, is that, you know, Trump is doing the right thing, and Trump is punching back because you don't hit Trump, you don't mess with Trump, right? You don't mess with Trump because if you mess with Trump, he's going to hit you back, and he's going to hit you back hard. And he's turning around all the foreign policies and all the foreign diplomacies, and he's getting people, whipping them into shape. And, you know, he's making Iran his bitch. He's made North Korea his bitch. He's made this country his bitch. You know, he's getting Canada and to toe the line. He's getting England. He's getting, you know, all these countries with his tariffs and his mercantilism. He's getting them all to toe the line. What happens when Trump leaves office? What happens, right? Sure, we've got people that have bought into the trollery. We've got people that believe in the idea that President Trump is, since he was impeached, pseudo impeached, not really impeached, that he gets another term. That's not true, right? He only gets 8 years. He's going to get reelected in 2020, more than likely. But what happens when he leaves? What's the long game strategy there? If he doesn't actually get us pulled out of the Middle East, like he said he would, if he doesn't get us pulled out of Afghanistan, out of Syria, out of Iraq, out of potentially Iran here in another couple of months, if he doesn't pull our support from Saudi Arabia and Yemen, if he doesn't get us out of the Middle East, is he making the situation worse or better for the next president of the United States? Right? That should be that's a concern that I really genuinely have, and I'm what we've seen historically is a large pendulum swing. If you have somebody that's further to the right, the result is somebody further to the left. Now, for some reason, the pendulum, the center is actually moving to the left over time. We've seen that, right? You have Michael Malice with the quote of, you know, conservatives are just progressives driving the speed limit. So they're just moving slowly to the left, much slower than progressives are, etc. But you see now where some conservatives are supporting red flag laws. You have some conservatives not supporting things like constitutional carry. You have some conservatives, you know, supporting what historically would be left-wing views. They're adopting them and picking them up, whether it's for the betterment or the detriment, right? Some of those, like I just mentioned, were to the detriment. Some of them are to the benefit, right? Such as being a conservative and being in favor of gay marriage, being in favor of live and let live. There's good things that can come from being quote unquote more tolerant to this. But that doesn't disprove the idea that conservatism as a political ideology is shifting, right? Look at it through the generations, right? Look at the young conservatives versus the older conservatives. It is clear that there's a difference between those two. Look at the young liberals and the older liberals, right? You got some of them that are quote unquote woke on the older side, but look at the differences. It's a stark difference between those, and I think that overall we're seeing a shift to the left. Now you can see some shift to the rights, and certainly the right, like Nick Fuentes, is not a good shift to the right. Being somebody who's so heavily driven on identity politics is never going to be to the benefit of society. Yeah, there's a lot of issues there. Welcome to the cheese wheel, motherfuckers. God, I love that comment. But the problem is like, who are we going to get for president after Trump? And please, nobody say Ivanka Trump, so nobody say Jared Trump, nobody say Donald Trump Jr. Realistically, who are we going to get? Who are we going to get? I mean, there's some good candidates out there. There's some decent candidates out there. There's some terrible candidates out there. There's some bad candidates out there. One of the bad candidates is Bill Weld, Sean Sikowski. Bad candidate. Bill Weld. Bad. Terrible. But we don't. Who do you guys see? Who do you guys honestly see as a viable candidate? Either in the 2016 election, or I mean the 2020 election, or that potentially could even run in 2020, right? You see the ridiculousness of what the left has been running, what the DNC has been running. We see all those, what was it, like 37 candidates that they were running? All of them were terrible. They're trash. They're absolutely boring. Not a single one of them really understands economics. I mean, I say that there's a couple that understand economics, but they're not even utilizing their understanding of how to have a profitable market, and then they're not even using that knowledge to be able to run as a presidential candidate. So you have all these people that want to have more and more control over your life, over your ability to determine what you do with your own property. That's never good, right? One of the best things about President Trump was when he cuts regulations. When he makes the government smaller, the people win. When the government gets bigger, the people lose. It really is a simple way of looking at things, and it's an honest way of looking at things. Vermin and Spike, that is a fantastic one. But yeah, Vermin Supreme and Spike Cohen Ticket. That is a fantastic one. Go check that one out. But really, there's just not much there. Jim Jordan, nah. Jim Jordan's good on the investigative side of things, and he's fairly decent at the Constitution. But he does have some issues, and I don't want to spend too much time going into that. But there's really, honestly, from the Republican Party, there's not really anyone that I would be like, this is the guy. Thomas Massie would be a decent pick, right? Thomas Massie has a good understanding of the scope of government, the proper role of it, and I really do think that Thomas Massie would utilize the crap out of that veto, and he'd be like, look, you Congress want to suck at throwing omnibus my way? I'm not going to sign them. Pocket veto it for as long as possible. Justin Amash, I don't think Justin Amash is going to run. If he does run, I don't think he's going to get the support. He kind of ruined his ties with the GOP, and I don't think the Libertarian Party thinks he's pure enough, and so I don't think he's going anywhere. I don't see any real viable picks for the future, and I think that is probably the grimmest part of this, right? So we're often concerned with the Obamas, we're concerned with the Trumps, we're concerned with the George W's, we're concerned with the Clintons, we're concerned with et cetera, et cetera. We're concerned with all these presidential candidates or these presidencies, but we don't have anyone that's good. We don't have anyone that has a good, strong philosophy, right? President Trump is a populist. He's a populist. He's worked to the detriment of the people multiple times. December 20th, this last year, he signed and raised the smoking age from 18 to 21 federally. What powers were enumerated to the federal government to enable them to ban anything? I'll wait. President Trump turned law-abiding citizens into 10-year felons overnight for owning a firearm accessory. Single-handedly. That's gun control, baby. 10-year felons. felons. Anybody want to guess what it means? Or guess what classification is required in order to disarm somebody and prevent them from having firearms? Oh yeah, it's a felon. So 10-year felons. Literally disarming people by them owning a bump stock. Whether you think a bump stock is good or not, whether you think it's effective or not, turning people into felons like that's the role of tyrants. That is the work of tyrants. Not pulling out of Yemen, tyrant. Supporting genocide, tyrant. When Congress passes in the House and Senate a bill to pull us out of Yemen and you veto it, that's not to the benefit of the people. So we've seen when he's been a detriment. We've seen when he's been positive. We need somebody who's going to take this, who takes that, learns the lesson, helps grow the economy. Not only grow the economy in the way that the stock market has been growing, but also grow the ability for the people to thrive within it. The stock market does not help the poor. It does not help the middle class in the same way that it helps the rich, right? I'm okay with saying that he is helping the rich. I'm okay with saying he helps the rich. I'm not okay with thinking that that's enough. I'm not okay with thinking that that is where we have to stop, right? Start trying to utilize that executive power with those executive orders to see what kind of legislation you can dismantle. See if you can ban states, right? A 10th Amendment thing. Ban states from having certificate of need. Start opening up the market. Start trying to figure out ways of, and be creative. Instead of trying to figure out ways of banning bump stocks, or not bump stocks, but suppressors, which is what he said he's trying to do. Instead of trying to find ways of banning the people, try to find ways of banning the government. Try to find ways of setting precedent where the government can't grow any longer. That's what I'm interested in. I'm tired of the overreach. I'm tired of sitting here with a microphone and telling you guys about how terrible the entire government has been, what ways that they've been destroying ourselves. Mitt Romney and Paul Ryan, yeah, those are clowns. I would love to not have the necessity of sitting here and talking to you guys as objective as I can about how devastating our government has been to us. I would love to not have this opportunity. But sadly, that's not in the cards for us, right? Instead, I have to sit here and go, hey, you know what the government made illegal this week? Hey, do you know how the government is providing hurdles for you to be able to, I don't know, sell lemonade on the corner? Or, you know, the government pouring bleach on food that you're going to hand out to the homeless? I would love to not be doing that. What's going on, Mike Wallace? I would love to not be sitting here and talking about the certificate of need in which the government sits there and puts legislation to prevent you or prevent providers of healthcare from providing to the people. I would love to see that in. I would love for parents to be able to choose where to take their children and to not have to pay taxpayer dollars to public school system if their children aren't in it, or especially if they don't have children. But these are all things that the government doesn't care about. Government doesn't care about us, and yet we sit here and we argue over which colored bird we want pooping on us next, right? Do we want the red bird or do we want the blue bird? How about we just stop getting shitted on? How about we start advocating for a system that represents us and our decisions? And that means that my decision is mine and your decision is yours, and we should have a government that's small enough to respect both of those. But with that, my voice is getting scratchy. I'm getting tired. I'm going to hop off for the night, guys. I appreciate you all. I'm so glad to be back. I'll be back every Monday night. Monday nights, we're going to be doing this 7 p.m. Eastern. We'll get started now, 7 p.m. I just had to start late, but I love you all. I appreciate you all for being here. I will see you guys all next Monday night, 7 p.m. Eastern. Make sure you guys are tuning in for the rest of the week. We have the Muddied Waters Media Muddied Waters of Freedom, sorry, with Spike and Matt on Tuesday. We have My Fellow Americans Wednesday, and then Thursday night with Writer's Block, Matt Wright. So make sure you guys are tuning in for the rest of the week, and I will see you guys next Monday, 7 p.m. Eastern. I am Mr. America, the Bearded Truth, Jason Lyon. Have a great rest of your week.